Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to Midnight Affairs Tales. We appreciate every single one of you. We'd love to know what part of the world you are watching from right now. Let us know in the comments. Now, let's dive into today's story, Chapter 1. Jake Mercer stepped out of the rental truck, boots sinking into snowmelt slush. The mountains loomed behind his quiet Montana neighborhood. The air was clean, too clean. The house was dead silent. He unlocked the front door slowly, finger hovering just above the grip of the Glock tucked under his jacket. The keypad on the wall flashed green. That was the first red flag. He had changed the passcode 3 days ago and never told anyone. It should have asked again. Inside, the scent of lemon polish hit him like a slap. The counters gleamed, floors spotless. That would not be strange if his wife actually cleaned. Jake's boots left wet tracks across the tile, but there were no other tracks. No shoe marks. No dog prints. No sign of Emily's usual chaos. He paused in the kitchen. A low beep came from the Nest thermostat. He stepped closer. The screen blinked. Last adjusted, 3:12 p.m., guest profile, Derek. Jake's breath held. There was no guest profile before. And who the hell was Derek? He scanned the room. In the reflection of the microwave, a shadow shifted behind him. Jake turned fast. Nothing. Just the hum of the fridge and the heavy weight of something wrong. A cabinet door creaked slightly open. Inside, nothing but a single wine glass, still wet, placed upside down. Jake slowly stepped backward, every nerve alert. He reached for his phone and opened his security feed. The app showed nothing. Every file from the last 3 days had been deleted. Every backup wiped. But the cloud doesn't lie. Jake had a ghost server from his army days, one the app never touched. He uploaded a restore. Please let this be paranoia, he whispered. The server loaded. And there it was, blurred, but real, Emily's voice, low and breathy. He is coming home Monday. We have until Sunday night. Jake came home Saturday. Question: what kind of betrayal starts with a thermostat and ends with a funeral plan? Before we move ahead, I just want to say your support truly means everything. We're building something special here, and our next big goal is reaching 10,000 incredible subscribers. If you're feeling the emotions in these stories, imagine what's still to come. Subscribe now, be part of this amazing journey, and let's keep growing together. Your one click can make a real difference. Let's continue the story. Jake sat alone in the garage with the glow of an old laptop illuminating his face. This machine was air-gapped, never connected to the internet. It was military-grade, his fallback. He scrubbed the video feed again. In the faint corner of the living room camera, a figure leaned in, tall, bearded, unfamiliar. His hands were all over Emily. Her voice was hushed. We wait. No mistake this time. Just a clean break. No name spoken. But Jake had one. Derek. Jake's fingers tightened on the mouse. Not from rage. From calculation. Rage gets you killed. Precision gets you justice. He left the garage and re-entered the house. Emily was in the bedroom, folding laundry, humming. Her smile was too easy. You were back early, she said. Got rained out. The guys bailed. Figured I would surprise you. He kissed her forehead, eyes scanning the dresser. The bottle of pills was gone. In the trash, beneath a used makeup wipe, he found the blister pack. 2 missing. His prescription for high blood pressure, untouched for years. The new pills were bigger, coated. He pocketed the strip without a word. How was the retreat? She asked. Quiet. Just what I needed. They ate dinner. Steak, roasted potatoes, red wine. He touched everything but ate nothing. He watched her watch him chew. She was trying too hard to look relaxed. That night, he flushed his own toilet in the guest bathroom while hiding the food he never ate in a Ziploc under the sink. Jake laid in bed with her body warm beside him, her breathing steady. She was planning to kill him, and he was going to let her try, not to die, but to catch her clean. Because if Derek was involved, this was bigger than infidelity. This was a conspiracy. The next morning, Jake opened the garage door as if heading to the store, but drove 3 blocks down and parked. He hiked back through the trees to the rear of his own property. He crouched low behind the shed, and watched his house like he had watched enemy compounds in Kabul. Through the back window, he saw her. On the phone. Her posture was wrong. Rigid. Sharp hand gestures. Lip tight. He activated the parabolic mic, a trick from his Black Ops kit. The sound filtered in, broken, but enough. No, he is not suspicious. He even said thank you for the steak. Yes, tonight. The rest isn't the tea. Jake stopped recording. That was all he needed. Emily was not just cheating. She was staging his death. That night, he forgot his tea. Claimed his stomach was off. She smiled thinly. Want me to make something else? Nah, Jake said. Just gonna lie down. He opened a drawer and removed a small pill canister marked fish oil. Inside, military-grade activated charcoal. He swallowed 2 in case she already dosed him. Then he waited. 10 minutes later, his stomach cramped. Head spun. Heart thumped wrong. She did not wait. She already poisoned something earlier. He stumbled to the mirror. Looked at his own eyes. Now we play, he muttered. But on my rules. He laid on the bed, groaning, acting weak. Emily peeked in. Babe, she asked. You okay? He did not answer. Just moaned. Her phone lit up behind her. Derek, did it work? She closed the door. Jake opened his eyes. You tried to kill a soldier trained to fake his own death in 5 countries. Bad move. Jake stood over the kitchen sink, watching the steam rise off the pot. His hands moved automatically, slicing vegetables, seasoning meat, just like his wife used to do before she got too busy. Emily leaned on the counter, scrolling through her phone. I thought you were sick, she said, not looking up. Feeling better, Jake replied. Thought I would cook for once. She smiled, but it was thin and unreadable. Her face looked different now. Every twitch meant something. Every blink might be a lie. He plated dinner. Steak again. Garlic mashed. Roasted carrots. She reached for the wine. Jake handed her the glass. To new beginnings, she said. Sure, Jake replied. To health. They clinked glasses. She sipped. He pretended to. They ate in silence for a few minutes. Jake watched her hands. She picked at her food more than usual. Her mind was somewhere else. He followed her eyes to the corner of the room where the Nest thermostat blinked again. She had not realized it still showed the guest profile. You ever fixed that thermostat? Jake asked casually. What? Her head snapped. It glitched this morning. Some weird name popped up. Derek or something. Her fork paused midair. Oh, she said quickly. That must be from the last update. I read something online. Jake nodded slowly. Makes sense. But he saw it. A micro-expression, a twitch just behind her eyes. Guilt. Fear. Reaction. Later that night, while she was brushing her teeth, Jake slipped into her office. The drawer with her will was locked now, but he had tools. Within seconds, it clicked open. Inside, a manila folder labeled after. He opened it. Inside was everything. Fake account numbers. A printed ticket to Mexico City, one way. A new driver's license with Emily's face and a different name. And a burner phone labeled, for emergency only. Jake took a photo of everything, closed the drawer, and returned to bed. What are you doing? She asked sleepily. Just had to use the bathroom. She kissed his shoulder and fell asleep. He stared at the ceiling. You are not planning a divorce. You are planning an exit. Jake opened his eyes at 3 a.m. He did not move, did not shift. His military training taught him to wake silently, to let the body stay still while the brain came online. He counted the seconds. 1, 2, 3. There it was. The sound. A click. Very faint. Too soft for casual ears. But not Jake's. The back door opened, then closed again. He rolled out of bed silently and slipped into jeans and a dark thermal shirt. He moved through the house like a ghost, sticking to the walls, avoiding every known creak in the floor. Through the front window, he saw her. Emily. She stood outside on the porch, whispering into a phone. He opened the parabolic mic from his go bag and pointed it through the cracked window. Yes, I gave it to him. He should feel it by morning. No, it is untraceable. I told you, we will be free by next week. Jake's heart did not race. His breathing did not change. This was not shock. This was confirmation. He stepped back from the window, shut off the mic, and returned to bed before she came in. Cold out there, he mumbled as she crawled under the blanket. Just needed air, she said, snuggling close. He did not flinch. Tomorrow would begin phase 1. Early that morning, Jake called a name he had not used in years, a private fixer known only as Silas. They served together in Kandahar. Need a clean phone, clean car, and a dead drop. You in trouble? Silas asked. Not yet, Jake said, but someone else is going to be. Later, Jake flushed every pill he could find in the house. Switched the tea leaves. Erased his GPS from Emily's apps. She would think the plan was working. He would let her believe it, until it was too late to back out. Jake set everything in motion before breakfast. He created a fake text thread between himself and a non-existent mistress. He left it open on his burner phone, which he accidentally dropped near the back seat of Emily's car. By the time she found it, her paranoia would spike. At 9 a.m., he told her he was going to the doctor. Instead, he drove 30 miles to a storage unit he had bought under a shell identity. Inside were tools he thought he would never use again, mini drone with 4K camera, audio bugs with 30-day battery, license plate flippers, a hard drive with a clean OS and surveillance software. Jake set up base there. From the rooftop across the street from his own house, he flew the drone. From its feed, he saw Emily walk into the backyard, phone pressed to her ear, pacing. He adjusted the mic range. Crystal clear now. He is getting weaker. He barely drove himself this morning. Yes, I'm sure the insurance is active. I checked last night. Then something new. We need to move faster. What if someone visits? I cannot have them seeing him like this. Jake narrowed his eyes. She was panicking. Good. That night, Emily came home with takeout. She kissed his forehead and asked if he wanted help getting to bed. Jake faked dizziness and let her lead him. We are almost there, she whispered softly. Jake blinked hard. Yes, he said. Almost. He slid under the covers and let his heart rate slow, steady, calm. Because tomorrow, she would try again. And this time, Jake would be ready to play the long game, not to survive, but to destroy everything she built. Jake leaned against a diner booth window across the street from Vaughn Construction, stirring coffee he had not touched. The company trucks moved in and out of the gravel lot. Most were wrapped in black vinyl. Clean logos. No names on the drivers. At exactly 10:47 a.m., a silver Audi pulled into the lot. Out stepped Derek Vaughn, tall, mid-30s, fitted flannel, Rolex. He slapped hands with one of his crew and walked toward the trailer office like he owned the dirt beneath it. Jake noted everything. Gait, posture, the slight limp in the left knee. Amateur football injury, maybe. His voice, when it carried across the lot, was cocky, loud, not the voice of someone discreet. Jake followed him an hour later, blending in with contractors carrying blueprints. The woman at the front desk did not even look up when he passed. Inside the office, it smelled of sweat and printer ink. Jake slipped into the back hallway. A metal door stood ajar, marked private. He scanned for cameras. One pointing down. He turned his baseball cap backward, slipped his hoodie up, and pushed the door open with the back of his boot. Inside, the lighting was dim. A drafting table sat in one corner, but the walls were covered in maps, property documents, and one wall-size whiteboard with names and bank account numbers. And there, under a paperweight, a printed copy of Emily's will. Jake's name was absent. In bold type, sole beneficiary, Emily Vaughn, pending legal update. A chill ran up his spine. They were already planning her next name. He took photos of everything, then slipped out the way he came. As he walked past Derek's car, he stopped briefly and bent down as if to tie his boot. With swift fingers, he attached a magnetic GPS tracker behind the rear bumper. Now I will know where you sleep, he muttered. Jake left without a trace, but his war had just found a battleground. Jake waited until Emily left the house for her yoga class. Her schedule had become consistent, predictable, like someone preparing to disappear with clean alibis. He entered her office again. The lock was changed, But Jake had already molded a new key using soft wax and dental resin 2 days prior. He opened the drawer. The after folder was still there, but something else caught his eye now. A red notebook with a leather strap, tucked between legal pads and receipts. Jake opened it. Inside, Emily's handwriting. Precise, clean, sharp. Each entry dated. September 5th. Jake left his phone unlocked again. He is getting slower. September 19th. Called Derek. He says insurance is finalized. October 3rd. Talked to Megan about alibi. She said I looked nervous. Must practice facial expressions. Every entry read like a checklist for a crime. Jake flipped to the last page. Target, October 14th. Use pill and tea. He will sleep. Finish at night. Quiet. Clean. No bruising. The date was tomorrow. His hands curled around the notebook. His body stayed calm, but inside, something smoldered. He copied the pages with his burner phone scan app, then reset everything exactly as he found it. Jake walked outside, looked up at the mountains in the distance, and breathed in the cold air. She had a plan, a deadline, a clean exit. But Jake was no longer a passenger in her story. He was rewriting the ending. That night, as Emily prepared tea in the kitchen, Jake leaned against the doorway. "You know what I miss most about the army," he said suddenly. She glanced back, startled. "What?" "Routine. No surprises. Everything exactly as it should be." She forced a smile. "Sounds boring." "Not really," he replied, walking past her. "It is what keeps you alive." He poured his own water and made sure she saw it. Emily froze for just a second too long. Jake saw it, and the war began in silence. The house creaked more than usual at night now. Not old house creaks, conspiratorial ones. The kind of noise that made Jake's instincts pull him from sleep in total silence. He lay still, listening. Tick. Scrape. Whisper. The sound came from the living room vent shaft, the same one near Emily's office. He waited until 3:12 a.m., the hour she once used to reset the thermostat. That was not a coincidence. He moved barefoot, like a shadow, and reached the vent cover. He unscrewed it slowly. Inside, tucked into the metal duct, was a slim black voice recorder. Still warm. Jake checked the timestamp. Last recording, 2:55 a.m. Minutes ago. He played it back. Emily's voice whispered, soft and almost loving. "This is the last night. I need to sleep. He will not make it to Saturday. I just want to feel something again." Then a male voice, Derek's. "Get it done. Then come home." Jake turned it off, closed his eyes. She was not just planning to leave. She was planning to finish it tonight. Jake opened his emergency case and pulled out a medical injector. Not poison ketamine, a tactical dose. He loaded it into a hollowed-out wine cork and slid it into the bottle she always poured from. By morning, she would be unconscious, and he would be gone. Gone, but not forgotten. He checked the time. 4 a.m. He whispered aloud, one hand pressed to the wall. "You wanted me gone, Emily, but ghosts do not need doors." Jake stood in the shed out back, stripped down to his undershirt despite the cold. The air was thick with the smell of gasoline. On the workbench, a small trash bin held the last of what had been his official identity, expired passports, old licenses, military files. All of it soaked and ready. He lit a match and watched the paper ignite. The fire danced up fast, swallowing his past in seconds. He crouched beside the flame and dropped in the bottle of wine Emily used to poison him. The cork popped from the heat, spraying faint red droplets across the side of the bin. The flame hissed, but it kept going. Burn everything. Leave nothing. He reached into a plastic bag and pulled out a burner phone, untraceable, paid in cash. He opened the secure app he had used during covert ops and typed a single message to a secured inbox labeled Redbird. Phase 1 complete. Target unaware. Moving to Phase 2. Operation status, Shadow. He sent it. Not because someone was monitoring, but because he was. Jake wanted a full record. If this ever reached a courtroom, the trail would be airtight. He packed a second go bag with clothes, non-lethal gear, forged IDs, and $35,000 in hard cash. Nothing tied to him. By sunrise, Jake was gone, but only from sight. Emily stepped into the kitchen that morning, yawning, and found a cup of untouched tea, still warm. Jake's truck was in the driveway, but Jake was not. His phone was still on the counter, his boots by the door. She called out, "Jake!" No answer. She walked through the house once, then again. Every door locked. No sign of struggle, only silence. She touched the tea, sniffed it, then dumped it into the sink. The digital clock blinked 6 a.m. A note sat on the coffee table. Just one word. Rest. Her hands trembled. Jake was gone, but nothing about it felt like a disappearance. It felt like a setup. 3 hours later, Jake sat inside a dusty rented storage unit 30 miles outside of town. The laptop on the folding table was wired into a makeshift antenna. He typed quickly, fingers gliding across the keys like a man who had waited years for this exact moment. Mockingbird channel activated. Initiating false lead package. Jake had spent the last week creating a fake anonymous leak. He disguised himself as a concerned whistleblower claiming to have inside knowledge of Derek Vaughn's embezzlement, bribery, and blackmail operations, all built into a fake paper trail, complete with photoshopped bank records and doctored messages. He packaged it all in a file labeled vaughnleak_22.zip, encrypted it, and sent it to 3 places: Derek's employer's internal audit team, a local financial crimes unit, a mid-level journalist from Helena who hated corporate corruption. By noon, the first email was opened. By 2 p.m., Derek's company began recalling contracts. By 4:15 p.m., Derek's phone rang. Jake listened from across town, patched into Derek's calls through a clone SIM card planted on the Audi. "What the hell do you mean suspended? What files? Who would click?" Jake leaned back. Let it burn. He scanned Derek's GPS log. The man was now driving erratically, took a wrong turn off the bypass, circled a gas station twice, then parked behind an abandoned diner. Panic. Jake smiled. He switched feeds and checked the house. Emily was pacing again. She looked at her phone. Called once. No answer. Called again. Still nothing. Then she stared at the mirror for nearly 5 full minutes. Jake knew that stare. That was not fear. That was the start of doubt. And doubt was all Jake needed to blow their world apart from the inside. Emily sat on the edge of the bed, barefoot, hair still damp from a stress shower. Her hands trembled slightly as she scrolled through old texts on her phone. Derek, make it look natural. Derek, 1 dose. Then wait. The messages were gone. Deleted. But she remembered every word. And still, no sign of Jake. His truck was outside. His phone untouched. No credit card activity. No texts. No calls. She picked up the burner phone from the office drawer. Typed, "Where is he?" No reply. She stood, looked out the window. Nothing but trees and wind. Jake was not missing. Jake was doing something. She just did not know what. Across town, Jake watched the drone feed from a dark motel room. The angle gave him a perfect view of the living room. Emily moved like a trapped animal, restless, unfocused. Then she did something unexpected. She opened the after folder, ripped it in half, then burned it in the fireplace. Jake leaned forward. Was she cracking? Or changing tactics? She picked up the red journal next and hesitated. But then she placed it in her purse. She was preparing for something. Jake checked her GPS tag, set a radius alert, synced her calls into a remote log. He opened a voice recorder and said, "Subject has entered unstable phase. Breaking routine. Timeline may shift." He looked at the final photo he had taken at Derek's office, the one with Emily's forged will. "This ends on my time, not hers." Outside, the clouds rolled in heavy. Wind shook the motel sign, and Jake sat still, silent, eyes locked on the screen, waiting for the moment she moved again. Because when she did, he would not follow. He would be waiting. Jake slid the key card into the lock, waited for the green flash, and pushed the door open. Room 307 of the Hillside Motel looked cheap, unwashed, and perfect. He had chosen it for one reason: the view of his own house across the street, just behind the tree line. From this angle, he could see through the living room window and Emily's office. He closed the blackout curtains halfway, unpacked his go bag, and set up the command center. Laptop, surveillance monitor, field notes, tactical map with red dots tracking Emily's movements, Derek's car, and now the phone of a third number that had popped up in her call history, Megan W. She had talked to Megan twice in the last 24 hours. Jake plugged in an encrypted recorder and began logging every new audio feed. The house was still bugged. She had not found the listening devices yet. That was key. From across the street, his drone zoomed in on her expression. Her face looked tired. Hollow. She was wearing the same sweater for 2 days now. Good, Jake muttered. Stay distracted. He opened the mini fridge, pulled out a bottle of water, and took a deep breath. Then he checked the second camera focused on Derek's apartment. Empty. Car gone. Jake opened a second monitor and patched into a call intercept. Derek's voice crackled through. If he is alive, he is watching. I do not want to go down for this. Emily, then fix it. Do what you promised. Derek, you promised he would be dead by now. Jake's jaw clenched. He clicked record. From this moment forward, every word would be part of the endgame. Because now, they were panicking. And panic breaks people. Jake knew he could not just strike once. He had to bleed them slowly. Mentally. Financially. Socially. So he flipped open his burner laptop and initiated Phase 3, interference. He created a post from a dummy Instagram account tagged in a photo of Jake and Emily smiling, clearly from 2 months ago. The caption read, Happy anniversary to the strongest couple I know. October 14th, unbreakable love. He hit post and waited. Within minutes, Emily's phone lit up. Jake watched from the feed as she grabbed it, froze, and her face changed. Not fear, shock. She looked toward the camera like she was being watched. Then she started deleting. Frantic taps. The photo. The tag. The comments. But it was too late. Jake had screenshotted everything and already shared it with Derek's personal number anonymously. Within the hour, Derek called Emily. Why the hell would you post that? I did not. I do not know how it got. You told me you were divorcing him. I was. Click. Jake leaned back. One post, and the entire lie started crumbling. Next, he routed a fake email from an anonymous tipster to Derek's real estate firm, claiming insider knowledge of fraudulent accounts tied to Emily's name. Then he placed a silent call to Megan's office phone and left a voicemail. Your friend Emily has not told you everything. Check her storage unit. Unit number 32, Northline Road. Nothing in that unit was illegal, just suggestive. Photos of Jake's gear, a printed copy of the will, and a burner envelope labeled escape plan. But it would be enough to unsettle. Jake returned to his window view. Emily sat on the couch now, just staring at the turned-off television. Her world was starting to flicker, and Jake had not even touched her yet. It took Jake 4 days to find the real journal. Not the red leather one. That was a prop. A show. This one was hidden deep inside a hollowed-out hardcover titled Minimalist Living. Declutter your mind. The irony hit hard. He had returned to the house just after midnight, entering through the attic where a forgotten vent led into her office. He moved like vapor, gloves on, every step measured. He had 40 minutes before the motion detector would reset. He lifted the book. Heavy. Inside, a battered black notebook with a broken spine. No title, just pages worn with time and covered in Emily's raw handwriting. Jake sat on the attic floor and read page after page. I married him because I was scared. He was so calm, so silent, like stone. He never cried when his mother died. That is not normal. What kind of man feels nothing? I met Derek at the gym. He saw me. Jake never sees me. I did not want to be this person. But Jake is not alive. He is a machine. He will never let me go. I have to do this. Jake's jaw tightened. His pulse was steady, but the cold was rising. This was not just betrayal. This was her justification for killing him. She made herself the victim. He closed the diary, scanned every page, and left it exactly where it was. He exited through the attic just as the motion sensor blinked back online. Back at the motel, He poured himself a glass of water and stared at the pages on his screen. Jake Mercer was not a ghost anymore. He was a mirror, and Emily was about to see her reflection. Jake walked into the glass-walled office of Harvey and Bennett Insurance, dressed in worn denim, boots, and a flannel that still smelled faintly of firewood. A receptionist offered a polite smile, but Jake's face stayed unreadable. "Jacob Mercer," he said. "I was told to come in to verify some changes to a life policy taken out in my name." The receptionist blinked. Yes, one moment." She made a call. Within minutes, a middle-aged man in a pressed shirt came to greet him, sweat already on his brow. "Mr. Mercer, I did not expect me to be alive," Jake said. The man's face paled. Jake gave him nothing but silence. They walked into a private room, where Jake was handed the printed policy. He read it line by line. There it was, in bold: policy holder, Jacob Mercer. Beneficiary, Emily Mercer. Payout, $500,000. Conditions, natural death only. "How long has this policy been active?" Jake asked. 37 days, sir. Activated the day after your last checkup." Jake looked up. "And you approved this without contacting me?" She had medical documents. "A marriage certificate. You were listed as the one who filed it online." "No, I was not," Jake said sharply. The agent swallowed hard. Jake leaned forward. "This meeting never happened. If anyone asks, I never came in. But if a claim is filed, you hold the payment. Call this number." He slid a card across the table. No name. Just a single line. Redbird Protocol. As he walked out, he texted Silas one word: live. Now, the fake death could begin, and Emily would walk straight into a grave she dug for him. Jake stumbled into the hallway of his house just after midnight, holding his stomach. His skin was pale, lips dry. The perfect image of a man fading from poison. Emily gasped from the bedroom door. "Jake? What is happening?" "Stomach. Can't breathe." He collapsed hard onto the carpet, hands twitching. Emily rushed to his side, phone shaking in her hand. Should I call? Should I? She stopped, stared, waited. Jake heard her breath change. She was not panicked. She was calculating. Then she whispered into the phone, "It's done." Jake let his breathing slow, faked a full body spasm. Then stillness. He heard her walk away. 2 minutes later, she was on the phone again, whispering now. "Yes. No, he is not moving. We should have time." Jake opened one eye, just enough to see her walking outside, phone pressed tight against her face. He counted the seconds. 5, 10, 20. He sat up, checked the hallway. Alone. He pulled the small syringe from his sock, injected himself with a compound to slow his pulse and mimic flatline symptoms for 15 minutes. Then he picked up a small recording device from the drawer and slid it under the couch. He whispered into it. She called it in. Claimed death. Timestamp logged. Then he dropped onto the couch again and waited. By the time Emily returned, he was back in position, pale, silent, dead. She sat down beside him, lit a candle, sipped wine, and began to hum. Not mournfully, peacefully. "Good night, Jake," she whispered. "You were never hard to love, just too hard to live with." She went to bed. Jake's eyes stayed open in the dark. "You finally said goodbye. Now it's my turn." 3 nights later, the house lights flickered, then went dark. Emily stepped out of the bathroom in a silk robe, confused. "Jake," she whispered. Old habit. No answer. She walked through the dark hallway. Outside, the wind picked up. Power lines swayed. The Nest thermostat blinked red, then cut. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number, do not run. She dropped the phone, picked it up with trembling fingers. Another text came through. "This house has secrets." She screamed, grabbed a flashlight, and rushed to the front door. But it was locked. Deadbolt engaged. Not from the inside, from the smart panel Jake had installed, which she never learned to disable. She banged the door. "Who is this?" From the living room speaker, Jake's voice, distorted, filtered. "I protected you. I built this house with my hands, and you poisoned it." Emily froze. "Jake? Is this you? Are you alive?" No reply. Suddenly, every smart device powered on at once. Lights flashed, speakers blared white noise, and the TV flickered to life, showing home security footage from the night she poisoned him. Her own voice played back. He will be dead by sunrise. Her hands shook. She unplugged the TV, but the audio kept playing from the Bluetooth speakers Jake had hidden during renovations. Emily dropped to her knees. Jake watched from room 307, fully in control. His voice came one more time, low and cold. You wanted the house to be yours. Now it is. Welcome to your wake. The lights shut off again, and Emily screamed into the darkness. The morning after the blackout, Derek opened the trunk of his Audi behind his apartment building, yawning. He reached in for his laptop case and stopped. Inside sat a sealed manila envelope. His fingers hesitated before opening it. Inside were 2 fake driver's licenses, both bearing his face and 2 different names. A prepaid phone, already activated. And a single photo, Emily, asleep in bed, next to Jake. A sticky note was stuck to the photo. She's already planning your exit. Ask her what name she will use in Mexico. Derek's hands trembled. His mind scrambled through every lie Emily ever told him. He pulled out his phone and called her. Where are you? At home. Why? We need to talk. Derek, not now. Where were you going after this? What are you talking about? Mexico? You said we would leave together. What is your new name, Emily? Silence. He heard her breathing shift. Then, you are overthinking. Jake is gone. We are free. No, Emily. You are free. I am expendable. He hung up. Jake watched the conversation play out from the burner feed in room 307, his face stone cold. They were turning on each other. That was the point. Jake stood, walked to the motel mini-fridge, and pulled out a small silver case. Inside, a second syringe. This one was not for himself. It was for insurance. He opened his encrypted recorder and added a new entry. Derek Vaughn compromised. Target emotional. Will escalate. Predictable under pressure. He sealed the case and wrote the label, for Emily. Final dose. Emily woke to silence. Jake's truck was gone from the driveway. His phone, wallet, even his dog tags gone. No note. No signs of violence. No blood. Just absence. She called the sheriff's office. I want to report a missing person. Name. Jacob Mercer. My husband. Jake's old friend Deputy Ray Calder arrived 2 hours later. He looked around the house, noting the spotless kitchen, untouched bedroom, and the lack of any signs of forced entry. When was the last time you saw him? 3 nights ago. He seemed sick, then just vanished. Why did you not report it sooner? I thought he needed space. Calder raised an eyebrow. That's so? Jake had tipped him off weeks ago, a cryptic letter in a package marked, in case I go missing. Ray was smart. He was playing along. He asked to check the backyard. Emily followed him with rehearsed concern. But she could feel it. The air around her was no longer on her side. That night, local news ran a story. Decorated veteran and Black Ops soldier Jacob Mercer reported missing. Authorities investigating. Photos flashed on screen. Jake in uniform. Jake at their wedding. Jake with a rifle in Afghanistan. The story painted him as a hero. Emily did not look like a widow. She looked like a suspect. And the world had just been invited to start watching. 3 days later, Emily stood in a pressed black dress outside the local church, dabbing her eyes for the cameras. A small crowd had gathered. Friends, neighbors, reporters. A few military buddies Jake had not seen in years. The memorial service had no body. Just a photo and a folded flag. Emily gripped the podium. Jake was a soldier. A quiet man. He gave everything to this country, and somehow, he vanished without warning. I just want closure. Her voice cracked perfectly. Her mascara smudged at the corners. The crowd bought it. But Jake watched it all from a distance, parked 2 blocks down, wearing sunglasses and a cap, listening to the live audio feed from the wireless mic planted in the church pulpit earlier that morning. Then something unexpected happened. Derek showed up, standing at the back, arms crossed. eyes scanning the room like a man preparing to run. Jake zoomed in through a camera feed. Emily saw him. Their eyes locked. For a split second, her mask slipped. Panic, guilt, recognition. Jake saw it, and so did the press photographer. That single image would run the next morning with the headline, "Who was the man watching the widow?" Jake smiled as he drove away. The game was public now. And Emily? She was no longer in control of the narrative. He was. It was just past midnight when a housekeeping employee at the Cross Hill Motel noticed a foul odor coming from room 14. She knocked twice. No answer. She used the master key. Inside, the room was quiet, lights off, air stale. And on the floor, face down, shirtless and pale, Derek Vaughn. The paramedics arrived within minutes, but it was already too late. Empty vodka bottles lay around him. An open pill container on the nightstand. The coroner called it an overdose. Jake watched the live dispatch report from his rental truck, parked 3 blocks down. He exhaled, not out of satisfaction, but because the plan had shifted. This was not part of his design. He had wanted Derek exposed, not dead. But Emily had gotten to him first. Or worse. She panicked. Back at the scene, detectives found a syringe clean, unmarked, with only Emily's fingerprints on the barrel. She claimed she had not seen Derek in days. Jake's message was clear. She's already planning your accident. And Derek had believed it. Either he had taken his own way out, or Emily gave him the final push. Jake called Silas. We need to reroute everything. Bring the file to the DA. The one with Emily's prints, the burner logs, the fake will. Tell them she is unraveling. You sure? Silas asked. Yes, Jake said. Now it's time to bring her into the light. The sun had not even cleared the ridge over the valley when Emily was pulled out of her bed by 2 officers in plain clothes. She wore nothing but an old flannel shirt and slippers. Emily Mercer, you are under arrest for the suspected homicide of Derek Vaughn. The neighbors watched as she was led to the cruiser. Cameras already waited. At the station, she folded into herself like wet paper. You think I killed him? She snapped at the detective. He overdosed. I had nothing to do with it. Then how do you explain your fingerprints on the syringe? Emily shook her head. He was depressed. I went to see him. He was drinking. I tried to help him. Then why did you not report it? Because I was scared. She snapped. Jake is missing. I am being followed. I thought. You thought what? That it would go away. Emily froze. Jake's strategy had worked. He had cornered her between truth and paranoia. Outside, the press dubbed her the widow with a secret. The photos of her and Derek at the back of the memorial ran everywhere. Jake saw it all from a diner in the next town over. He looked down at his notes. She broke character. That was the point. The arrest made national headlines. But Jake was not finished. He was only removing her exits one by one. Emily sat alone in the interrogation room, head buried in her hands. A public defender sat across from her, silent, flipping through a folder. Her phone, now evidence, buzzed from the far side of the table. Blocked number. The officer looked up. That phone is supposed to be off. Do not answer it, the lawyer said. It could be a trap. The officer reached for it, but paused when the second message came through. Audio file received. The officer opened it and pressed play. Jake's voice filled the room. Calm, clear, cold. Ask her about the wine cellar. She will know. Emily shot upright. What is this? Who is that? The officer asked. I do not know. Emily's voice cracked. But she did. Because Jake's voice was not just a memory. It was a confession waiting to happen. The wine cellar was the only place in the house not yet searched, because she had sealed it months ago. Inside, the original vial. The documents. The original will Jake had accidentally left behind before she replaced it. All of it was still there. Jake had known she would not destroy the past. She would just hide it. And now? He had given the key to the police. Emily stood and slammed her hands on the table. This is harassment. The officer did not flinch. No, ma'am. This is justice. The courtroom was packed. Camera crews swarmed the front steps. Reporters jostled for quotes. The headline buzzed across screens and social media alike. Wife of missing Black Ops veteran faces charges in secret lover's death. Emily walked in wearing a gray blazer and black skirt, her hair tied back, her posture stiff. Her lawyer whispered, "Eyes front. No tears, no cracks." She nodded. Jake watched from a public live stream, seated in a booth at a remote truck stop. His hat pulled low, his coffee untouched. The prosecutor stood. The state will prove that Emily Mercer and Derek Vaughn conspired in the potential murder of Jacob Mercer, and that when their plan began to fall apart, Ms. Mercer silenced her partner. Emily sat silent, jaw locked. But Jake noticed it, the twitch in her hand, the way she stared past the prosecutor instead of at him. The defense tried its angle. There is no proof Jacob Mercer is dead. There is no body. No confirmed crime scene. The prosecutor responded by playing the audio file, the recording of Emily whispering, "He will not make it to sunrise." The courtroom froze. Emily's lawyer objected. Overruled. Next, the images, the two IDs found in Derek's possession. The burner texts. The insurance policy with forged documentation. The wine cellar photos. It was a firestorm. But when the court broke for recess, Emily smiled for the first time. Because Jake had made one choice. He had not shown up. There was no body, no testimony, no confirmed victim. Emily was about to slip the noose, and Jake was going to let her. By the second day, it became clear the prosecution was stretched. Without a body, the murder charge was unstable. Without Jake's testimony, the conspiracy case was circumstantial. So they pivoted. Fraud, identity tampering, insurance deception, tampering with evidence. Emily's team took the deal before it hit the jury. She pled guilty to insurance fraud, evidence destruction, conspiracy to commit financial theft, no jail time. 5 years probation. Heavy fines. Frozen accounts. A national record. The headlines roared. Emily Mercer walks free, but her life is not. Jake watched the news alone. He leaned back in his chair and whispered, "Let her walk." Silas's voice came through the earpiece. "You sure about this? She is out. She is going to walk the streets." "Yes," Jake said. "Let her walk. Let her smile. Let her believe it is over." Because Emily had not escaped justice. She had stepped into a new prison, one built by fear, one where she would never know if a knock at the door meant he had returned. Emily left the courthouse to a mob of flashing cameras and shouted questions. "Do you have a statement? Did you kill your husband? Are you going to find him now?" She said nothing. She entered the car, gripped the handle, and exhaled. The driver looked at her through the mirror. "Where to?" "I do not know yet," she muttered. "Just drive." 2 hours later, she checked into a roadside inn with cash. No ID. She stared at the blank TV screen for almost an hour before opening her bag. She pulled out a burner phone. It buzzed once. Unknown number. Text. "Welcome back to the world. Did you think it would feel better?" She dropped the phone, heart racing. The next morning, she tried to withdraw money, declined. Her accounts were still frozen. Her passport flagged. Employers would not touch her. The media had made her name poison. She was free, technically, but nowhere felt safe. She walked into a diner and saw a man at the counter. Big shoulders. Quiet presence. Familiar. She blinked. He was gone. At night, she checked the locks 3 times. Slept with the light on. A noise in the hallway? She flinched. An envelope under the door? Inside, a single photo of her standing on her motel balcony, taken from the tree. The back read, "You may have escaped court, but not consequence." Emily dropped to the floor, gasping. This was not over. This was just the start of a life where she could not trust shadows. And Jake had already won. The diner smelled like bacon grease and burnt coffee. It was half empty. Rain tapped the windows like fingers. Emily sat alone at the corner booth, stirring black coffee she would not drink. Her hands trembled slightly, but her face was still, blank. 2 booths down, a man sat with his back to her. Broad shoulders, short-cropped hair, heavy jacket. She blinked once. She swore she saw the edge of a tattoo on the back of his neck. something that looked like the eagle crest from Jake's old ranger patch. She stared longer. The man adjusted his collar. The tattoo vanished. He stood slowly, took a 20 from his wallet, set it on the table, then walked out. Emily stood too quickly, almost knocking over her cup. Wait! She rushed out into the parking lot, heart pounding. Rain soaked her shoulders. But the man was gone. No car. No tracks. Just a shimmer of water on the asphalt. Her chest tightened. The air felt too thin. She looked around wildly, then back inside the diner. A waitress gave her a strange look. "Are you okay, ma'am? Did you see that man? The one sitting alone?" The waitress raised an eyebrow. "You have been the only one in here for the last 30 minutes. Emily froze. "No, that is not possible. I just saw—" She stopped. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed into the booth again. She could not breathe. Because even if Jake was not there, his silence was everywhere. Later that evening, at a cheap roadside motel outside Billings, Emily paced barefoot across the stained carpet, gripping her phone. No messages. No calls. No threats. But that only made it worse. She checked the lock again. Then the closet. Then under the bed. Nothing. She forced herself to sit. Tried to breathe. Tried to convince herself Jake was gone. But that was when she noticed the envelope. It had been slid under the door while she was in the bathroom. No name. Just one word scribbled on the front. Remember? Emily opened it. Inside was a photo. Old. Slightly burned around the edges. She was asleep in bed, and Jake was next to her, awake, staring at the ceiling. The photo was taken from above. It was not staged. It was real. On the back, written in Jake's block handwriting. "You were right. I am still dangerous." Her breath hitched. She dropped the photo as if it burned her fingers. Backed into the wall. Eyes darting to the window. The curtain fluttered slightly. Wind? Or something else? She ran to it, yanked it open. No one. No footsteps. She checked the hallway, empty. Emily slid down the wall, hands over her mouth, sobbing into her palms. She was not being haunted. She was being studied, like Jake had done in war zones. Watching. Waiting. Letting the enemy crack themselves open. And Emily? She had just split wide. Jake sat alone in a surveillance van parked 3 blocks from the motel. The van was old, disguised as a plumber's vehicle, but inside was military-grade surveillance gear. He watched her room through a heat sensor, her body pacing back and forth like a trapped animal. He took no joy in this, but he felt no pity either. He pulled a hard drive from the console, encrypted, labeled with a code name only he and Silas understood. Op Karma, Emily M. He plugged in an audio recorder and spoke calmly. Subject has entered terminal stress pattern. Heart rate elevated. Behavior erratic. Objective achieved. Sustained psychological impact. He leaned back. Through the van screen, he watched Emily open the motel window and sit on the sill, staring out like someone expecting a ghost to step from the dark. Jake whispered one last note into the mic. "She took everything from me. So I gave her exactly what she wanted. A world without me." He reached for the remote panel, typed a code, and activated the final script, a scheduled series of harmless system pings that would trigger her room's lights, thermostat, and TV at random over the next week. Nothing violent. Just unpredictable. Just enough to remind her. Jake pulled on his coat, stepped into the rain, and walked down the alley, van locked behind him. No footprints. No shadow. Just a veteran who had already disappeared once, and knew exactly how to do it again. The USB drive had been sitting in a small P.O. box in Bozeman under Jake's alias for almost a month. He had instructed Silas to leave it there if anything ever happened to Commander Holt, Jake's former commanding officer and the only man Jake still trusted after the service. Now Holt was dead. A fiery car crashed off a remote logging road. No witnesses. No camera footage. Ruled accidental. Jake knew better. He plugged the USB into an encrypted terminal at a small internet cafe 2 towns over. The file was titled Rebirth. He opened it. A single video loaded. Holt, sitting in what looked like a dark storage room, speaking directly into the camera. If you are seeing this, I am gone. Jake, this is bigger than just Emily. Vaughn was part of a funnel network, laundering money through fake construction contracts. But here is the part one never told you. Emily was not just involved. She was connected to someone we both know. Someone inside. Jake leaned forward. His jaw tightened. Holt continued. You trusted Kyle. So did I. But he has been feeding intel to Vaughn's operation for over a year. Kyle, Jake's old teammate. His best man at the wedding. His goddamn brother in arms. The video ended. Jake sat back. His hands shook, just for a moment. Then he opened his burner phone. Silas. Loadout. Remote cabin. 2 hours. Silas paused. Thought you were done. I was, Jake said. But now I am cleaning the whole board. Jake arrived at the remote cabin just after sunset. Snow crunched under his boots as he moved through the trees. No lights. No noise. Just the rhythmic hum of silence that only came before something terrible. Inside, Kyle was seated at the table, a bottle of whiskey half-finished, pistol on the table. He looked up, surprised, not scared. That was telling. You were supposed to be dead, Kyle said. So were you, Jake replied. What the hell were you doing with Vaughn? Kyle exhaled. No denial. No defense. Just a slow shake of his head. You got out. I never did. They offered me something I could not say no to. Jake stepped forward. You sold me out. My wife. My life. I did not know she would go that far, Kyle said. I thought it was just leverage. She was supposed to scare you, not bury you. Jake's voice was low now, controlled. You sat across from me. You held my mother's hand at her funeral. You carried my gear when I took a bullet for your sorry ass in Hellman. And you let them come for me. Kyle looked away. I was tired of being a nobody, Jake. Tired of hiding in the shadows while you became the legend. Jake picked up the pistol and set it in front of him. You have 10 seconds to disappear. After that, I forget we ever served together. Kyle did not move. Jake turned and walked out the door. Behind him, one gunshot echoed through the woods. But Jake never looked back. He had one more name to erase. Jake returned to his war state. Silent. Tactical. Focused. This was no longer revenge. It was cleansing. He parked the truck near the edge of the forest trail, 5 miles outside town, near an old lodge where the records said Emily had rented a private suite 2 weeks ago. He hiked the slope with nothing but a silenced pistol, a drone, and a handheld scanner built to intercept local signals. The snow was fresh, no tracks yet. That was good. It meant no one expected him. He approached the cabin. Inside, he saw signs of movement, a flicker of shadow. A woman. Thin. Nervous. It was not Emily. He scanned the plates on the car nearby. The name that came back. Megan Wills. Emily's alibi. The same woman who said Jake was not himself in her court deposition. Jake sent the drone to the far side of the lodge and triggered the car alarm. The woman inside jumped. Ran outside. Jake entered through the back. He moved through the cabin like breath. Found the office. Opened a locked drawer with a single sharp jab from a combat knife. Inside, printed emails. Bank records. A log of every time Emily had met with Megan to adjust the story. There was even a photo. Megan, Derek, and Emily laughing. Jake scanned every page. Took pictures. Then he left the burner phone on the table. With one message. You were her witness. Now you are mine. As he vanished into the trees, the drone stayed behind. Watching. Recording. Delivering the truth to the last piece of the puzzle. Jake was not just ending the conspiracy. He was turning it inside out. Jake stepped into the small server room beneath a shuttered community hall, one of his last safe houses from the field. He opened the briefcase. Inside, 6 labeled drives. Emily. Fraud/witness corruption Derek. Money trail Kyle. Military conflict of interest Megan. Perjury/falsified affidavits construction shells. Bank tunnels Redbird audio. The recordings. This was more than revenge now. This was exposure. He uploaded the contents to 3 Dead-Drop servers and set the release protocols. Each file would hit local law enforcement, the State Bureau, and 3 hand-picked media outlets within 24 hours. Staggered drops, layered encryption, signed anonymously. Operation Legacy, Truth Has a Shadow. He tapped the final command. Silas, report, he said into the mic. Transmission complete. Files are alive, Silas answered. Jake walked outside into the fog-draped morning. For the first time in months, the air tasted clean. Now let them see who she really is. The second arrest happened fast. A squad rolled up to Emily's motel at 6:12 a.m., kicked in the door, and pulled her out mid-screen. She was barefoot, wearing only a hoodie and sweats, mascara still smeared from the night before. The charges this time? Perjury, forgery, obstruction of justice, conspiracy to falsify military death records, wire fraud this time. The courtroom looked different. There were no speeches, no pity, just evidence. The emails, the financials, the secret meeting logs, the surveillance footage Jake left behind like breadcrumbs. And worse, the judge played a voice recording of Emily rehearsing her fake breakdown for the memorial. Just cry on, he was loyal, she had said. Gasps broke out in the courtroom. The prosecution laid it all out like a blueprint. When it came time to speak, Emily refused to look up. Her lawyer whispered, "You will not walk this time." Emily whispered back, "I should have finished it when I had the chance." The court did not need Jake's body anymore. They had her soul on record. Jake returned to the original hunting cabin, the same place he had left from the day Emily started her plot. It was still as he remembered, silent, damp, untouched by time. He carried a single red fuel tank and a stack of old photos, wedding shots, love letters, a crumpled copy of Emily's fake will. He laid them all on the table, struck a match, watched it spread like truth. The fire rose fast, the structure dry with rot. Smoke poured into the air like ghosts leaving the roof. Jake stood outside, watching the cabin burn to the ground. He said nothing. He closed his eyes once, not for Emily, but for the version of himself that died here the first time. As flames consumed the last corner of the roof, he walked away. No ashes, no salvage, just the closing of a chapter. Emily sat in a cold holding cell beneath the county courthouse. She stared at the wall, pale, trembling, waiting for the next charge, the next humiliation. A guard walked in silently, handed her a sealed envelope. No name, just her prisoner number. She opened it. Inside, a single piece of paper. A plain, handwritten message. Some ghosts wear dog tags. Below it, a burned fingerprint. Jake's. She dropped the note like it bit her. Screamed, "He is alive. He is alive. He is watching me." The guard did not respond. He had heard this rant before. But outside, in the shadows near the edge of the lot, a man stood by a black SUV. Worn boots, bearded, a single scar just under his right jaw. Jake, watching, not for revenge, not even for justice, just to make sure she knew she would never be safe again. Jake walked into the small government building outside Juneau, Alaska, carrying a folder under one arm. The clerk barely glanced up. Name. Jake paused, then slowly said, "Mercer." "Jacob." The woman typed for a moment, then looked at him. "Military discharge." He nodded. She handed him a form, stamped it. "You are officially off-grid. No records, no return calls. You sure you want that?" Jake signed without hesitation. "I already disappeared once. This time, it's permanent." He slid the folder across the counter. Inside were photos, logs, the original will Emily tried to fake, now corrected. All the pieces. "If anyone comes looking, tell them I died cleaning up someone else's war." The woman stared for a moment, unsure whether he was serious. But something in his eyes, something cold, ancient, told her not to ask. He walked out the door and never looked back. A month later, in a quiet dock town wrapped in fog, an old man with a trimmed beard and sun-wrinkled hands stood by the harbor. Locals called him Cal. No one asked where he came from. He cleaned fish, drank black coffee, and fixed broken nets for cash. He did not talk much. Sometimes, when storms rolled in and thunder cracked the sky, he would sit at the edge of the dock and stare into the water, like he was remembering something far away. Or someone. He carried no phone. No ID. Only a dog tag tied to his keyring. It had been scratched blank. No name. No number. Only silence. Back in Montana, Emily Mercer's name had become legend, whispered in true crime forums, podcasts, documentaries. Some said she was framed. Others said she was cursed. A few believed the rumors that the man she tried to kill never died, that he was still out there, and that he was watching everyone involved. Emily served 4 more years before she was released into a halfway house in Oregon. The first night, a note appeared under her door. It said only, "Still breathing." She never slept again. The system had processed her. The court had punished her. But Jake? Jake delivered justice. Not by law, but by truth. He never needed a bullet. Just time. And silence. So now you tell me. Was this justice? Or just a ghost who knew how to wait? Let me ask you this. If you were in Jake's shoes, would you have done the same? Let me know where you are watching from in the comments. I want to see how far this story travels. And if this revenge story hooked you, give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned because the next thriller we are crafting, it will hit even harder. Take care of yourself until then. And remember, some wars never end. They just go quiet. Until next time.